Every civilization in recorded history has its own mythology, its own creation story. In the Abrahamic faiths, Yahweh creates light from the darkness, forms the world in 6 days, and rests on the 7th. The Romans had an entire pantheon of deities: Jupiter, Saturn, Minerva, Neptune, Mars, and Diana. In Norse mythology, we have Odin, Thor, Balder, and Loki. The Hindu have Vishnu, Shiva, and Rama. And because fantasy mirrors reality, fantasy worlds often have their own mythologies as well, their own histories and lore. In Tolkien's Silmarillion, we learn of the Astari and of the creation of Middle-earth. Lewis's Narnia has the god Aslan. In Martin's Game of Thrones, the people of Westeros worship the Seven, or the Drowned God, or the gods of the forest. The world of Monster Hunter is no exception here. There's an ancient text. It reads as follows. Once, there was a world without time. The world was nothing but white light, inhabited by people and 5 dragons. In that world, there was only eternity, and a sun that burned without beginning or end. And because there was only timeless eternity, nothing was ever lost, yet nothing was ever gained. One day, the people began to wonder why their world had no beginning or end, so they asked the dragons. The dragons opened their mouths as if to answer, but from their mouths poured water instead of words. It rushed out in streams to create the skies and the oceans, and the dragons swam away. The dragons swam to the center of the ocean, and there they began to transform into an island. One dragon sank into the sea and became the land. One dragon lifted its gaze to the sky and became the mountains. One dragon stooped low and became the lakes and scattered its scales to create the rain. One dragon fell into a deep slumber and became the forests. The last dragon climbed far into the sky to become a star of sapphire blue, shining brightly above the island. The people could not understand why the dragons had left or why they had transformed. Eventually, a lone youth decided to go to the island to seek the answers from the dragons themselves. He donned a simple cloak, climbed into a simple boat, and cast off alone into the murky seas. At last, guided by the sapphire star, he reached the island of the 5. Some time passed, and the youth returned. "Did you speak with the dragons?" the people asked. "Yes, I spoke with them," he replied. "Then tell us, why did they create the island?" But the youth did not answer. Instead, he reached into his cloak and pulled out 5 dragon scales, which he gave to the people. And then, before anyone realized, the youth disappeared. The people left their white world and sailed across the ocean. Using the 5 scales, they created their own lands, their own mountains, their own lakes, and their own forests. Last of all, they created a bright moon, so that the sapphire star, which guided the youth during his voyage to seek the dragons, would no longer shine alone in the sky. The land grew large enough to obscure the sun, and day and night were born. The mountains, lakes, and forests breathed together, and the seasons were born. The moon cast its light on the ocean, and waves were born, and thus time was also born. Swept up in an almighty current of time, the people came to know death, but the people also came to know life. Countless days and countless nights have passed since the first people came to live on the lands that they created. As time passed, they lost their memory of the 5 dragons, and even the memory of how time itself had been born. But deep inside their hearts, there dwelt a quiet knowledge of the Island of the 5, the most sacred place in the world, which to this day sleeps in the middle of the ocean, uninhabited by people and unchanged, even by the relentless flow of time. So, what does this story mean? Did these events actually happen? I don't know. But here's the thing, here's what I do know. As humans, we always want to find the answers. We're explorers, we're intrepid, we're always searching for the next horizon. And when we don't understand things, we tend to make up our own answers, to explain things in the best way that we know how, to relate them to things we do understand. I think that's what's happening here. I think this story is the religion of our world, the religion of this world of Monster Hunter. And I think it sheds a lot of light on how the people of the world think and how they feel. They're searching for something to guide them, for anything to guide them, and they're looking to the sky for that guidance. And in the sky they see the sapphire star, much like how our own ancient ancestors worshipped Polaris and sought to it for guidance, a constant in their lives, the North Star. the Sapphire Star. So you see, when the 5 fleets crossed the ocean, the Sapphire Star was there to guide them. It's their method of navigation, and it represents hope in everything they dream of. It's the one constant in their lives. In a world that's confusing, where most of our history has been forgotten, the Sapphire Star is still there, shining in the sky, and all that we have to do to remind ourselves of our past is look up.